Hello and welcome to Rotary in Action. I'm your host, Marty Peters, and it's my privilege to share with you a very special group of people that are really making a difference in the lives of children. This is called 1,000 Smiles, and it's a great organization of men and women that volunteer their time, talent, and even sometimes treasure to make a difference in lives of children that probably would have never had a chance to have their facial images changed. And the miracle that that does, it creates a whole new life and a whole new attitude for these children that probably would have never had their life change had it not been for these people. So if you'll stick around for a minute, we'll be right back and introduce you to some people that really truly are making a difference. We'll be right back in just a moment. We're privileged to have a group of gentlemen that are here this afternoon to share with you a very unique organization called 1,000 Smiles. First of all, Dr. Terry Tanaka, welcome. I know you've been in our community for a long, long time. It's a privilege to have you here, Terry.
Thank you very much, Marty.
And Dr. Jeff Moses, who is an oral maxillofacial surgeon, again in our communities for numbers and numbers of years. Terry, tell us a little bit about 1,000 Smiles. What is this project?
The 1,000 Smiles Project, Marty, is a cleft palate team, cleft palate and dental team, field mission team that treats children in Mexico and different parts of Mexico and also in Costa Rica, and provides free dental care for them, as well as orthodontic care, as well as the surgical procedures that Jeff and his team does.
And Jeff, how did this all get started? Was this your idea, or is it just a combination of many?
Not at all. It's a combination. Terry and I were on another mission team in Mexico, and were approached by some Rotarians from Ensenada, Mexico, one of which was a maxillofacial surgeon. And they saw what could be done. They wanted to have something similar done in their region because it was underserved. At the same time, they wanted us to do something a little bit different in that they wanted it to be a seed or a model team of which to spring off other areas of need and provide a kind of an example.
And how long ago did this all begin? I mean, this is in the last 15 years? Or?
It actually started earlier than that, but the actual team of 1,000 Smiles started about 1985 in Ensenada, Mexico.
That's amazing. And it's sort of grown over these years. You never know where it's coming from, but it just keeps growing. I think, if anything, I've been so impressed with the quality of men and women that give so effortlessly their time. They're down there all the time. If anything could be said, what would you think would be the hallmark of this program? Is there one word that pops into your mind, like?
Ambassadorship. I think what it does is it takes the spirit of service, which ultimately is what gives both personal growth and brings the education, the knowledge base, and service to the needy children, and also spreads that back and forth across borders.
Cross borders. You know, it's remarkable to see you two gentlemen, because I've seen you for many years, and it's just a privilege to have you both here. When we come back, we'll have another aspect of 1,000 Smiles, but let's break right now and watch this little show.
Cleft defects occur when parts of the lips or mouth don't join properly during fetal development. Many people wrongly believe that cleft palates and cleft lips are the result of a mother's drinking alcohol or taking drugs during pregnancy. But the defects are almost always genetic in origin, caused by malnutrition or lack of prenatal care. They occur in all countries, but at different rates in different parts of the world. 1 out of 850 babies are born with one of these problems in the United States. In Mexico, it is 1 out of 650 babies. In the United States, these defects are treated by a team of specialists starting immediately after birth. For many babies in Mexico and other parts of the developing world, the care may not be available or not so comprehensive.
Actually, I'd been in practice for 50 years I have been, and I never saw an open cleft in all my practice of dentistry. Because here in the United States, we have children's hospitals, we have March of Dimes, and we have doctors that take care of the children immediately. But in Mexico, that isn't true.
In 1985, Dr. Terry Tanaka spoke to the National City Rotary Club. He was involved in a palate program. That's how Rotarian Bob Chalfa got involved.
Our club didn't have a major project at that time, and after seeing Terry's program, asked if we could become involved. Terry got very emotional. He hadn't really come to ask for donations, and so, but there was a need, so we got together and planned a barbecue, and with a goal of raising maybe $4,000 or $5,000.
The barbecue raised over $20,000. With subsequent barbecues and the help of the Rotary International Foundation, they had over $100,000 to equip 4 surgery rooms in Ensenada, Mexico.
We still never had any idea of ever running clinics. In 1988, the Ensenada Rotary Club, Ensenada Centenario Rotary Club, invited us to joint venture a clinic with them. That invitation actually changed the course of Thousand Smiles. It actually set us on the course we're on now, and that was the beginning of the Thousand Smiles Cleft Palate Clinics.
Welcome back, and after watching that video clip, Terry, it sounds as though, just to the average person like myself, that you're all doing the same thing down there, but I gather this is extremely different. Tell us how this has evolved and why is it so different than the other procedures that are going on in Mexico?
I think the most important difference between our team and the other teams that operate in Mexico and throughout the different parts of the world is that ours is probably a very, very comprehensive team. One of the few comprehensive teams that treat not only the physical deformity of the cleft lip with the surgery like that Jeff does, lip and palate surgery, but we also offer the service of treating the patient from a dental standpoint, dental caries, orthodontics to expand make the arches fit inside the mouth that the other teams really can't do because they don't have the comprehensive team that we do.
So if I was putting it in layman's terms, the plastic surgery is done here, and other organizations may not be working
on the teeth at all.
With the teeth at all. So therefore, those compounding problems over many, many years as the child has grown.
Exactly.
And Marty, there's a whole aspect of the full team approach. We want to have speech and audiology involved. We have genetic counseling to help with, the mother is concerned, is my next child going to be like this? So we bring in all kinds of other specialists and experts in the field. In fact, we even have some that do cosmetic tattooing because some of the irregularities of the lip may not be just perfect, and they'll do little cosmetic lines that will blend and smooth. So it's a tremendous full team effort. And more importantly, we're following the kids from the birth all the way through into the late teens, so that sometimes they need secondary and tertiary surgery that moves the facial bones around. So this kind of longitudinal care was the primary difference and the main goal of setting these teams.
And nobody else is doing it at the same clip, the same level of quality over a longer period of time?
I believe people are taking the cue, and one of our efforts is with this being a seed or a model team to spread that news.
Is it fair to state that these young children, I would assume they'd be ostracized if they hadn't had this stuff done, and that's one of the real travesties that goes on. Is that in most third world countries it's that way? If they're not fixed quick, it's difficult for them to get an education. And
right, and to actually even exist in society as normal children. Yeah. Thanks to Jeff and his team, that they give them that other chance, which is really, really great.
Jeff, I wanted to ask you, I know that you've been doing this for such a long time, and tell me about the way the volunteers have come into this program. How does this news get spread, I guess is?
Well, you're doing a good job right here. Hopefully other Rotary clubs will see it. Presentations have been done by all the board members and other people that are involved, and even non-Rotarians that come go home to their communities. They spread what a wonderful feeling it is. In fact, I've heard the comment that far greater reward is received by the volunteer than what they're giving. And then they spread the word, and other people can become involved in other areas other than in dentistry or surgery or anesthesia or any other medicine. They can come and help.
So the volunteers that you're getting aren't all dentists and oral maxillofacial specialty surgeons. They can be nurses or administrators or people that can speak some Spanish, and they're all included, they're all welcomed?
Or even some people that don't speak Spanish either.
That's right.
Probably half of them don't speak Spanish.
But they can find a slot.
Oh, sure. We'll have a lady that was superintendent of schools, of our school district, and she was developing x-rays. They don't treat patients, but we can teach them things that they can help out, and they do crowd control and things like this.
We're helping the children write the thank you notes and
Oh my
that
God,
sort
that's
of
really
things.
nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to, thank you both for this time, but we have a little presentation that I'd like you all to watch now on these clinics and how these clinics have evolved over these years that are really touching and making a difference in these children's lives. Let's watch that right now.
The clinics bring free dental and surgical care to needy children in Baja California, Mexico, and other parts of Latin America. They take place 4 times a year in Ensenada, Mexico, and now twice a year also in Juarez, Mexico, and once a year in San Jose, Costa Rica. The clinics run over a 3-day weekend. The first day is for pre-screening and triage.
At the pre-surgical screening clinic, we see up to 90 to 100 patients at a time. This is all accomplished in the first day of the clinic, and we provide screening and planning for each of their surgical procedures. These children are seen sometimes up to 3 to 4 times as their stages of procedures are required for correction of their problem. In the triage, we have to choose who will benefit the most, which procedures are done at the right time for the growth of the patient so that there'll be the proper timing for that child for the best possible effect. Our main intent for the children is to restore their smiles and their confidence and let them re-enter society on a very successful basis.
10 to 12 kids will be selected for any given day of surgery. The surgery is done in 2 operating rooms in cooperation with the Ensenada's General Hospital. Teams of volunteer surgeons, anesthesiologists, and nurses work from 6 a.m. until often 8 o'clock at night to ensure as many children as possible receive the necessary surgical care. In addition, 12 to 20 kids will receive an insertion of a drainage tube into their ears to prevent middle ear infection. And 80 to 100 needy children will receive the general dental care they need.
Welcome back. And in my enthusiasm on our before the break, I neglected to let you know that we're going to have 2 new guests. And immediately to my right is a Dr. Jim Vernetti, who is a Rotarian that's been involved with this since I think almost its very inception. Welcome, Jim. Glad to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And next to Jim is a gentleman by the name of Bob Chalfa, who was in that videotape a bit earlier, who is a Rotarian in the National City area and has been another passionate disciple of Thousand Smiles. And Bob, what I'd like to do is I looked at these films on these medical clinics and the clinics that you got, and there are now how many clinics that you're working on full time down there?
In Ensenada, we do 4 clinics a year. When we first started out, we were doing 3 a year. Each clinic has probably 120 volunteers. We have see maybe 120 dental patients, and we screen from maybe 80 surgical patients down to probably doing maybe 15 surgeries, maybe 25 ear tubes. It's a very comprehensive
And somebody
program.
mentioned you're the guy that's in charge of all the logistics. Tell me, it sounds like it could be the Army, the way it sounds like all the equipment that you have to get over the border.
No, it's not too bad anymore. It used to be really a project because we took everything from San Diego. Now we own a clinic in Ensenada, we own a building, and everything's down there. So all we do now is just fill in every time. And it's pretty simple now.
That's great.
Used to be different.
Jim, you've been a hero of mine for so many years. And how many years have you been a Rotarian, first of all?
53 years.
53 years, and I bet you've had a lot of rubber chicken meals, right?
Yes, I have.
When
Talking
you,
about Thousand Smiles.
Talking about Thousand Smiles. When you started getting involved in this? I imagine as a dentist you felt so moved touching these people's lives, but tell me, how has it changed you, and you're so passionate about this? What's made the biggest effect on your life in being involved in this?
In my 65 years of service club work, I have I've undergone many projects, many. None of them have touched me, even come close to touching me as much as 1,000 Smiles. It just is a passionate thing. You see a transformation of an invalid into a normal human being that before they're not allowed even to go to school. Now they can go out of school and be just as nice and equal with everybody else. Amazing transformations.
It sounds like I call you a miracle maker. All this whole 1,000 Smiles are a bunch of miracle makers.
They are, yes, I agree.
Bob, when you got involved in this, was it simply because they had come to you and Terry Tanaka had given that speech, but was there an energy that you had never seen before, or how did you find this to take off?
Terry came and gave us that program, and we were looking for it. We'd been kind of looking for something to get involved in, and we asked if we could get involved in it, and it just snowballed from then. It's got an energy that's just, it's got its own energy, and it just snowballs. Not in big leaps, but over the years it's just gotten bigger and bigger. Every volunteer adds something to it. It's a wonderful program.
You know, I'm always amazed when I look at this type of a program and I see what Rotary has done, but this isn't limited to Rotary. Anybody can be involved in this. Am I correct in that?
That's true, yes. Anybody. We need translators, we need all kinds of people. Help with arts and crafts,
Right.
we have that specific project down there. And then feeding the people. We have to feed the people, people that come, and the volunteers also. So that's where Rotary can come in many ways.
Well, why don't we take a look at this next little film, Jim, and maybe after that we'll talk about what I want to love is the Rotary volunteers. Let's watch this right now.
Many volunteers, Rotarians and non-Rotarians, contribute to the success of the 1,000 Smiles Foundation. Medical professionals take time away from their practices to contribute their dental and surgical skills. Local Rotary clubs from both San Diego and Ensenada districts are vital to the success of the clinics. These hard-working volunteers provide not only medical care, but also some administrative help for registration and tracking of the patients. They provide lunch for the patients and their families. Rotary Foreign Exchange students are often included in the 1,000 Smiles volunteer experience. Rotary District 5340, Southern California, and Rotary District 4100, Baja California, both support the 1,000 Smiles Foundation.
For us down in Ensenada, 1,000 Smiles Foundation has been a project that has many returns. We have people helping people in a truly international manner. We have volunteers coming from San Diego down to Ensenada, and we have people from Ensenada joining in the effort. We have 42 members in our club, and practically all of them are involved somehow in helping by collecting children for detention, by going to the infant houses that are around the city and bringing in for attention, dental and stuff like that.
This international effort drew some attention at the top level of Rotary International in 2001.
Getting to like you, getting to hope you like me. Oh, no.
Richard D. King, president of Rotary International, visited the clinic in Ensenada. Richard King was escorted by Rotary International directors Francisco Crio and Ron Bobian. Their visit was recently featured in the Rotarian magazine. Rick King visited the remodeled warehouse in Midtown Ensenada used for patient screening, as well as the old clinic location. A new clinic has been built and is now in operation.
Okay.
The new location will have room for all the general dental facilities and counseling areas.
We're back, and I wanted to ask you, Bob, I've seen all these volunteers, and tell me the makeup. Is there a certain kind of a person that comes down there, or does it cross the board?
It's across the board. You know, everybody thinks at first that they're all dentists and surgeons, nurses, medical people, but we have volunteers. We have people that do computers. We have people that lay tile in the building, that do building maintenance, have hooked up electrical, everything. We have people that ferry people back and forth between the hospital and the clinic, drive cars. We have people that translate. We have a lot of people that don't speak Spanish. I mean, we can use any volunteers, any kind of volunteers.
And Jim, you said something about the great pay that they get, all these volunteers. How much? You were the head guy of this whole thing, weren't you?
Well, no, but we were trying to find a clearing. We don't have money for an executive director, so the board said, well, we'll have an executive secretary. And I volunteered, foolishly, I guess. And so they paid me, and the salary was a big zero.
A big zero?
Yeah, big zero.
So,
and then a couple of years later, they kind of felt guilty, and they tripled my salary. So now I get 3 zeros. But that's seriously one of the reasons that I'm so impressed with Thousand Smiles, is that there are no paid volunteers. They're all just give of their heart and their willingness to help other people.
Jim, I wanted to follow up on something you had discussed earlier, something about the lives that you know you've touched, and there's so many of them, but could you tell us a little about Martha, this young girl?
Yes, I can, and I'll do it quickly. It's a longer story, but I'll have to put it together. Martha was 14 years old and was living in an area in Tijuana and would never see anybody. She would always would hide into the forest whenever anyone came. We finally got her, brought her down, did the operation on her, and then we lost track of Martha. And lo and behold, we got back years later and found her here. She was married, and a beautiful queen she was. She was actually so beautiful she could have queen. But the nicest thing was they had a child, about a 3-year-old child, all dressed up in his little suit. So here we did a transformation from someone that was crippled to a mother to now a perfect child also that she had born.
It's remarkable.
It's very touching, very touching to have that happen.
You get me having a tear in my eye when you're telling the story, and I imagine, Bob, there are many that are like that. Many little children that you've made a difference in their lives.
And we see them. You know, we've been seeing them for 17 years. We see them grown now, and they still come back.
Yeah.
Do they call you Papa?
No, not really.
Well, it's just a joy to have you both here.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask one little quick question, if I may. What keeps you coming back? Why do you always feel so passionate about this?
It's a part of my life. You just don't want to get away from it.
Yeah.
You know, I miss a clinic, and it's terrible.
You're going through withdrawal.
Yeah, really.
If people want to get involved,
contact us on our website, email, telephone. I think we're going to show them the
right,
numbers.
you'll have the numbers.
And we have
Rotary.
place for volunteers, Rotarians, non-Rotarians, medical people, non-medical people, translators, people that are only speak English. We can put anybody to work.
All people are invited. When we come back, I'd like to have our 2 first guests join us so that I may thank them for their special contribution to this today's program. We'll be right back.
Many more children need your support. If you would like to help, consider volunteering your time at one of the clinics. Contact the Thousand Smiles Foundation and offer your professional skills. There is great need for dentists, technicians, nurses, and surgeons, as well as lay volunteers. Donations of money or equipment are also greatly needed. Visit the Thousand Smiles Foundation website at www.thousandsmiles.org to get some more detailed information. Through your generous support, the Thousand Smiles Foundation will continue its dedicated work in Latin America. Because of the work of the Thousand Smiles Foundation and Rotary International, many miracles will continue to happen in the future, creating many more thousands of smiles.
Welcome back, and I just can't thank you all enough. Terry, Jeff, Jim, you dentist and oral maxillofacial specialty guys, and then you got Bob, who is Mr. Cleanup. I am so impressed with the group, but the beauty of this is that you all are doing it and making the difference. My prayer is that you, the viewers, now understand that you can make that same difference. Whether you're in San Diego or some other city, all you have to do is contact and make some arrangements to get involved with this very special group. And if you're in a town that doesn't do this with their Rotary Club, there's no reason why that Rotary Club can't get involved as well at the same time. So with that, you gentlemen really are to be commended, and thank you for being part of our Rotary in Action special program, because you are making a difference and touching lives daily. So with that, I thank you all, and especially the viewers, for watching. We hope to see you again, and remember that when it comes to Rotary in Action, you can make the difference if you just get up and make a phone call. So with that, I thank you and bid you a good day. This is Marty Peters for Rotary in Action saying, see you soon. Thank you.
Thousands of them die in the slums. They're known as Brazil's street kids. These children needed a place to go, so I brought it up at Rotary. People heard about what we were doing and asked how they could help. Together, we raised funds to give them a home and open the school. Now hundreds of kids have a future. They have hope.
Rotary gives people an opportunity to help.